Welcome to the F1Stop show. I'm your host, Sam Oni, and today, this evening, with me is Wes Spearman. Wes, how are you?
Yeah, pretty good, thanks, Sam. Yeah, F1's back. The gravy train is off and running, as they say. Yeah, interesting qualifying today on Friday as we're recording this. So yeah, looking forward to hopefully what will be an exciting race tomorrow. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm good. I'm very excited F1 is back because after what, 3 months? Yeah, 3 months. A lot has happened. You know, Günther Steiner left Haas. They now have a new team principal. Uh, you know, the launch of the new 2024 cars were announced. And they've shown us and they sorry, the launch of the 2024 cars were announced, and seeing all the cars on the new grid. But the biggest news, which took over, was Hamilton signing for Ferrari in the 2025 season, which got everybody excited, and some couldn't believe it themselves. But that's F1 for you. So, Bahrain, the first of 24 races in the year 2024. Uh, as of today, mentioned qualifying went underway, and Max Verstappen was your pole sitter. Any surprises there?
Not really. I don't think. I suppose in the practice session they were. I wouldn't say they seemed to be struggling a bit, Red Bull, but I think Verstappen was hovering sort of around the fifth and sixth place. Perez a bit lower than that. So I was sort of worrying a bit. Oh, hang on a second. Are like Ferrari, Mercedes going to come into the fold this weekend? But yeah, it doesn't seem that way. Yeah, as you say, Verstappen pole by over zero point 0.2 of a second, which is a decent amount in Formula One. It was pretty close between him and Leclerc at one point. But I think it was only really going to be those two fighting it out for pole, and it came down to that, didn't it? But yeah, Verstappen pole with a 1:29.1, Leclerc second with a 1:29.4. So there's a bit of a gap already. Yeah, 0.2 seconds might not seem like a lot of time, and let's face it, it isn't. But when the margins are so fine in F1, that gap of zero point 0.2 of a second is actually quite big. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see if this year is a bit of a repeat, like a bit of a repeat of last year. Hopefully it isn't. Hopefully we do get some battles for the race win between Verstappen, Leclerc, Sainz, Perez, the Mercedes, even the McLarens. Maybe they put in a good showing with 7th and 8th, but yeah, no real surprises. I would say certainly in the top 10.
So, first of all, just want to apologize for technical issues. Internet is not on our side today, but we move on. But as you said, this season, what are you expecting from this season? Because last year was pretty much Max Verstappen for what, 19 races? He won 19 races out of 22, I believe, or
Something like
20.
that, yeah.
Yeah. So what are you expecting from Max this? Sorry, what are you expecting from this season in 2024? Are we gonna have much closer racing? More than one person battling for the championship?
I mean, you have to hope that there is more battles, or there are more battles this season, especially for the race win. I don't want it just to be like last year, basically, where you go into a race weekend. Oh, how far ahead is Verstappen going to win by today?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult to sort of judge based on testing, practice, qualifying of one race, but yeah, Verstappen does seem to be a bit of slightly ahead of the rest of the field. Um, yeah, I mean Ferrari, they're not too far behind by the looks of things. Some good qualifying from Leclerc. I think Sainz is got fourth as well, with Russell in third. So there is competition there. You just have to hope that they can push on and close that gap to Verstappen. Because it's not even really Red Bull, it's just Verstappen at this point, isn't it? I mean, Perez, obviously fifth place, a decent result, you say, but on the basis of the last couple of years, you want the Red Bulls finishing 1 and 2 if you're Christian Horner. You don't want to be that big of a gap between your number one driver in Verstappen and your number two in Perez. Um, yeah, you just got to hope for closer battles. I mean, last year was a complete historic season in Formula One because, as you say, Max dominated for so much of it. But as a spectacle, it's great to have all the stats and stuff. That's quite cool. But as a spectacle, watching it, I mean, I sort of got a bit bored halfway through the season. Like, oh, is Verstappen out? Is Verstappen going to win by like half a minute? Is he going to lap the entire field at this point? So you just got to hope, as I've said, you just got to hope that Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren, whoever can challenge Verstappen and Red Bull for those podiums and race wins.
Um, Indeed. I think what I'm expecting from this season is, I think I want more than one team to like get multiple race wins. So of last year's races, we only had what, two teams winning a whole 24 races. Sorry, 21 races, being Red Bull and Ferrari. So this year, I'm hoping that more teams win races this year because it just brings that excitement to the season. Because let's face it, hearing Max Verstappen's Dutch national anthem for what, 19 races across the season last year, it was a bit boring, tiring at times. So I would love to see the likes of, you know, Lando Lando Norris, Sainz, Hamilton, Piastri even get a race win because I just think it brings more excitement to the fans. It makes the season much more spicy, and also it gives like midfield teams or top half of the teams like McLaren. It gives them that exposure that they can really win races this year.
Yeah, I mean, McLaren had a decent season last year. I think they were best of the rest. Um, Piastri had an outstanding year for a rookie driver. Obviously, Norris is there or thereabouts. Been with McLaren for 4 or 5 years now. Obviously, got a few years left on his contract as well. So you just have to hope that they can push on. The way McLaren have sort of recovered over the last few years, ever since Alonso and GP2 engine with Honda and that sort of saga, if you like, the switch obviously from Renault to now Mercedes power units has seemed to work wonders. I mean, who'd have thought having the engines from one of the best cars on the grid would help? Yeah, the way that they've recovered with Norris at the helm, the drivers they've had before. Can't quite remember who was before Piastri now. Sainz, of course, it was. Yeah, the way they've sort of recovered, as I say, from the last few years has been excellent. I think, and yeah, as my favourite team, I sort of hope they continue to push on. And I think they got a few podiums last year, and yeah, if they can consistently or more consistently challenge for those podiums, those top threes, as you said, a race win maybe if something happens like the Monza curse we talk about sometimes. Where was it Sainz who won it a few years ago from McLaren, Ricardo as well, in McLaren again. No, it wasn't Sainz who won it. It was Gasly in the AlphaTauri. If we get one of those races, I can see McLaren sort of being there to to pick up the points and challenge for a race win. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if they can push on, continue to push on. But yeah, I just hope that tomorrow's race or today's race, as this goes out on Saturday, is an interesting one, and Verstappen doesn't just just walk away with it after turn one.
So the 2024 season is here. The first race is actually tomorrow, Saturday. Um, if you notice, I said Saturday and not Sunday. So the Bahrain race is taking place on a Saturday weekend due to the Islamic calendar of Ramadan coming up, and that will also happen with the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix with the race taking place on Saturday. Just so you know. And then after that, it will go back to its normal Sunday race day, Saturday qualifying. Right. ahead of the first race tomorrow, which three drivers do you have your eye on to, you know, stand out this season? Whether it's a title challenger, a midfielder, or someone to have another, you know, very good season who isn't really in the limelight. Is there anyone that's catching your eye?
I'd probably say Alex Albon would be one of them. I think he had a pretty decent season last year for Williams. Yet if Williams are sort of pushed away from the bottom of the grid, if you like, they're still one of the back markers lower end of the midfield. But yeah, I mean, he was fighting for points sort of semi regularly last season, was Albon. And yeah, with a potential Mercedes seat up for grabs next year or for next year, he'll be wanting to put his name in the hat for that. And the only way he can do that is by performing well for Williams, who, of course, Mercedes affiliated team with Mercedes power units. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how he does. I mean, he had a decent qualifying, 13th, I think, earlier on today. So it'd be interesting to see how he does and how he pushes on from last year. Another one will probably be Carlos Sainz. Again, out of a seat somehow at the end of this season. He wholeheartedly deserves a seat in F1. I think he's a fantastic driver, and he's just got to prove his point of why he deserves a seat, I suppose, to all the other teams. If he outperforms Leclerc this season, then brilliant for him, and that can only push his case to get a drive for next season. So yeah, he's one to look out for me. And another, again, probably Lewis Hamilton. Probably both of the Mercedes drivers, if you like. Obviously, Hamilton being his last year at Mercedes, can he get another race win with the team? Can he get his first race win for a good couple of years? And Russell as well. How is he going to sort of show he can be the number one driver at Mercedes once Hamilton leaves? Is he going to outperform the 7-time world champ? We'll have to wait and see. So, yeah, I'd say those are my three to look out for, if you like. Albon, Sainz, and Hamilton / Russell.
Of course,
Who's your three?
I agree with you there. Hamilton is definitely one on my list because, like you said, you know, he's in his last year with Mercedes racing for the Silver Arrows. You know, 8-time he's won. He's an 8-time, you know, constructors champion with them. What, six drivers titles with them? The first being in 2014. So he's done a lot. He's done a lot, and you know, did you know it's been what? It's been 45 races since he last won a race. Don't
That's
ask me.
unheard of. That's unheard of in the
It's
career of
full,
Lewis
yeah, it's
Hamilton.
yeah. If you think about it, we've got what 22 races. What, last year or the year before? So that's almost that's almost what, 2 years worth of races, if you like. So that's a very long time. I mean, I would be thinking, oh, when am I going to end this drought? You know, because 45 races is a lot. Um, and again, the headlines of him moving to Ferrari for 2025, partnering with Charles Leclerc. I mean, that's going to be one fantastic, you know, driver lineup. I think the question is whether if he can win a race this year with Mercedes, which I believe he can. It's just a matter of whether he's got the right car for it, and whether, you know, driver and car can work together. Another person, excuse me, um, I'm gonna say Danny Ricciardo. I think this year is sort of a more like reviving my career sort of season because 2000, was it last year or yeah, last year he was, you know, midway through cut off by McLaren. So it's a bit of like, you know, can I get myself back on track, you know, get to where I want to be, really stay in F1 because I enjoy racing, you know, that kind of thing. Um, So I'd love to see how how he turns out this year, racing for RB, if you like, or Visa Cash App Red Bulls. You see how I'm already stumbling with the words. It's a pretty long name. But yeah, that's two. I mean, my last driver being Charles Leclerc, I really want him to like. He's probably my pick for this year's drivers' championship. I want him to really and challenge Verstappen and somewhat beat him, if you like. So hopefully bring a trophy back to Ferrari since 2007. Kimi Raikkonen was the last person to win drivers' championship, so it would be something. Um, so just before we finish up, the last few, what would you say? Seeing the cars in qualifying now, all 20 cars, your favorite, your least favorite?
I'd say my favourite again probably is RB's. It looks so sort of striking and just cool. It's just out there. Again, sort of as we've said before, a throwback to Toro Rosso era. Um, and yeah, I think the colours just work so well together, and yeah, it looks really really good on track. I have to say the Alpine actually looks better on track, but that might just be because it's a night race, and so everything's a bit darker. So the black or just the raw carbon fibre doesn't really hurt the car too much. As for worst livery, I don't really know. Obviously, Red Bulls is again pretty much the same, but again, it's a good livery. You can't dock it points for being the same if it's still a good livery. Sort of same with Aston Martins in that case as well. Theirs is pretty much the same, but again, still looks
Yeah,
really really good. I think. Um, McLaren again think looks pretty good. Perhaps a bit too much black on there. I think it's better than the silver they sort of teased us with at the start of the season, or not, well, in like January, whenever it was that they published those pictures. I'd say the worst one, yeah, probably Sauber or Alpine. I mean, yeah, the cars, I mean, they still look all right, but just not as like striking and out there as an RB, as a Ferrari. The Mercedes new livery is quite cool. The way they've incorporated it. I mean, they want to go back to silver because obviously they are the silver arrows, but again, the black. I know we've criticised car for being black, but the black Mercedes just works with those colours that they've got. Um, yeah, the Sauber, the bright green, yeah, it stands out, but I'm not really a fan. I mean, it looks okay, but yeah, it's certainly not the strongest on the grid. So probably Sauber for me is the worst. What do you think?
um, the worst looking car on the grid, in my opinion, or my least favorite is probably the Alpine. Uh, it kind of disappointed me with its color scheme because I saw there was a lot of black on it, and the blue it wasn't really striking for me. I'm looking at it and I wasn't really you know wowed by it, if you like. Um, so so yeah, I think that's probably like my least favorite. Um, my favorite car on the grid, I'd have to say, I've had to say the Ferrari. I really loved the Ferrari. And I think for the last couple of years now, Ferrari, when they've done their launches, I'd say they get it spot on every time. I really enjoyed, seeing their car when it launched. And yeah, it's probably my favorite so far, with Mercedes in a close second. Yeah, and then Toro Rosso in a third. Wait, I might have to rethink that. Maybe
Toro
Toro Rosso
Rosso.
in a second. Yeah, Toro Rosso in a
Hang on a
second. Yeah,
second.
yeah. But yeah. Well, wow, the first race of 2024. It's going to be a long season. Um, you know, one thing that I'm actually quite curious about this year is actually the traveling of all the F1 personnel, all the cars. I'm very curious in how they're gonna travel with like all their F1 equipment going from one country to another, one continent to another, um, because it's a long season and the travel time, the traveling is, you're picking up a lot of mileage, a lot of kilometers. So I'm very very interested about that.
Yeah, I think they've done it a bit better. They have sort of managed to group sort of continents together, if you like. So obviously got the two Arabian Peninsula races this weekend in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia next week. Australia, I mean, there's no two ways around it. It's completely far away from every other race that they go to. And then you got Japan, China, relatively next to each other. Miami across the Pacific. Then you got Italy, Monaco, again pretty close to each other. Canada's a bit of an outlier in there across the Atlantic before going back to Europe in Spain a couple of weeks later. Then obviously got the European leg: Austria, UK, Hungary, Belgium, Netherlands, Italy, Azerbaijan. Um, then you go Singapore. Then you've got the Americas, obviously Qatar, Mexico, Brazil, Las Vegas this year. Then you finish off back in Arabia with Qatar and Abu Dhabi. So they've done a decent job, I think. Certainly better than it has been last years to cut the amount of flight hours really that the crews, the personnel, because it's a nightmare to work in F1 logistics. I can imagine, because you got so many sort of bits of equipment, obviously the cars themselves, all the parts, the tires,
Yeah.
and obviously all the people as well. It's not an easy job to sort out. So yeah, fair play to F1 for sort of improving the calendar this year, the schedule, cutting down on the amount of flights that they have to take, which yeah, for motorsport, where obviously you need petrol and fossil fuels, if you like, to actually power the cars. I know obviously people are working on synthetic fuels nowadays, which is brilliant. But yeah, it's a lot of manpower and a lot of emissions go into motorsport. So if F1 can cut down on that where they can, then they have done, it seems. And yeah, fair play to them. It's not an easy job to. So especially as the calendar is growing even more, as we've said, 24 races, the longest season in F1 in its history since 1950. So yeah, it's not an easy job, and yeah, so I feel a bit for the mechanics, engineers, etc., who have to travel to each race, because you're away from your family a lot as well
Yeah.
in F1, and yeah, that obviously takes a toll mentally and physically. The time differences going from race to race, continent to continent is a lot to take in as well. So yeah, fair play to them, and yeah, as I say, hats off to F1 for being that little bit more sustainable this year, if you like.
I mean, they did say they want to be sustainable by 2030. So no, they're not far off. They still got 5 years and five and a bit years. So yeah, right. Last one before we round off. Your predictions for tomorrow's race in Bahrain. Your top three and your driver of the day.
Top three, I'm going to go Leclerc for the race win. I
Oh,
know he started second, but I
whoa!
just feel like, yeah, Leclerc. There was a bit of a battle between them last year, I think, or it might have been the year before in 2022. There was a bit of a battle between those two. So I'm going to go Leclerc for the race win, Verstappen second, and let's go Perez third. I don't think Russell will hold on to that third place he got in qualifying. Do you want to do your top three? Then we'll do drivers of the day.
Um, well, my race winner is my pick for the um 2024 championship, and that is the Monegasque driver Charles Leclerc. I am manifesting in it this weekend that Charles Leclerc is going to win. So Charles Leclerc for the race win. Verstappen second place. Um, I'd say the gap between those two will probably be very close. I'd say probably probably just over a second. Yeah, just over a second. I'm not expecting no, 5 second gap. It's not going to be like that. No. Then third place, I'd say Carlos Sainz. Yeah, I think Ferrari are gonna, get a double podium, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Russell can hold on to that third place. Maybe in the opening race, opening lap, but I'm not sure for the long duration of the race if he can hold on for third. So Leclerc, Verstappen, Carlos Sainz, my top three. Driver of the day then.
I'm going to go Sergio Perez. Qualified in fifth. If he makes up a few places, has some good battles with the likes of Alonso, Sainz, Russell, whoever's in that sort of top five, comes out on top of all of them, then I think he's had a good weekend. So I've obviously predicted him third, so he's got to make up at least 2 places from that. So yeah, I'm going to go driver of the day, Sergio Perez.
Okay. I think my pick, I'm gonna go with Lando Norris, and I might even throw it out there that he will even finish ahead of Fernando Alonso, finishing ahead of Fernando Alonso. Now it's not impossible, and I don't see why he can't do that. But I just thought, let's spice it up a bit. So yeah, I think that's going to be quite a good shout. Um, so yeah, well, we've come to the end of the first episode of, you know, this. Well, is that no, the second episode, if you like. Sorry, second episode. uh, so yeah, F1 is finally back, and Bahrain Grand Prix kicks off tomorrow. We hope you've enjoyed the episode, and I've been your host, Sam Oni, and it's a goodbye from me. Bye bye, and it's goodbye from Wes.
Bye bye.
And we'll see you soon, and we hope you enjoy the race tomorrow.